Every coffee brewing method uses the same raw material, ground roasted beans and water. But the cup changes completely. The temperature changes. The strength changes, the flavor changes, the caffeine changes. Centuries of engineering, accident, and obsession applied to the same plant. 14 brewing methods. From a 500-year-old Ottoman technique to a 21st century capsule that produces more waste than coffee. This is every coffee brewing method. Explained. Espresso. Espresso is not a coffee bean, it is a pressure. 9 bars of pressure, 9 times atmospheric, forced through finely ground coffee for 25 to 30 seconds. The Italian word espresso doesn't mean fast, it means pressed out. The drink and the method are the same word. The first commercial espresso machine was patented in 1884 by Angelo Moriando in Turin. Refined by Luigi Bezzera in 1901. Industrialized by Achille Gaggia in 1948, whose lever-driven design produced the first crema, the golden foam that became the visual signature of a proper espresso. A standard 25 to 30 milliliter shot has more caffeine per milliliter than any other brewing method. The total caffeine, however, is often less than a drip cup, because the volume is so small. Italy never standardized espresso. Every cafe pulls it slightly differently. Outside Italy, the average shot temperature is significantly higher, and the volume nearly doubles. Moka Pot. The Moka Pot is not an espresso machine. Italy spent 90 years explaining this to the rest of the world. The rest of the world stopped listening. It was invented in 1933 by Alfonso Bialetti, an aluminum manufacturer in northern Italy. The mechanism is simple. Water in the bottom chamber boils. Steam pressure pushes hot water up through ground coffee. The brewed coffee collects in the top chamber. The pressure tops out around 1.5 bars, less than 1/6 of a real espresso. The result is strong, concentrated, slightly metallic, with a bitter edge that espresso doesn't have. No crema. The fat-to-water emulsion that defines espresso simply doesn't form at this pressure. Bialetti's son Renato printed his own face on the side of every pot. A stylized, mustachioed man pointing upward. After Renato's death in 2016, his ashes were buried inside a giant ceramic Moka pot. The brand still uses the logo. An estimated 90% of Italian households own one. French press. The French press is not French. The most accepted patent traces to a 1929 Italian design by Attilio Calimani. Though earlier, less complete versions existed in France in the late 1800s, the name stuck because it sounded better. The mechanism is immersion. Coarsely ground coffee steeps in hot water for 4 minutes. Then, a metal mesh plunger pushes the grounds to the bottom. No paper filter. The coffee's natural oils, daterpenes, mostly cafestal and kewol, pass straight through into the cup. Those oils are why French press coffee has a heavier, fuller body than filter coffee. They are also why it raises LDL cholesterol more than any other common brewing method. 2 unfiltered cups a day has been documented to measurably increase blood cholesterol levels. The texture is unmistakable. No crema, but the body is thick. The grounds settle at the bottom of the cup. Some people see this as a flaw. Most see it as the point. V60. The V60 is a cone-shaped dripper with a 60-degree angle, a single large hole at the bottom, and a spiral rib pattern on the inner walls. Released by the Japanese glass company Hario in 2004, and named for its geometry. The mechanism is gravity. Hot water poured in a controlled spiral through the grounds extracts the soluble compounds, then drips through a paper filter into the cup below. Every variable, water temperature, pour rate, grind size, bloom time, affects the result. A bad V60 is undrinkable. A great V60 is the cleanest, most articulate cup of coffee you can make. It strips out body and oils, leaving only the soluble flavors of the bean. Floral notes pop. Acidity is sharp and bright. The V60 is the brewing method that revealed why Ethiopian and Kenyan beans taste the way they do, and made the third-wave specialty coffee movement commercially possible. Most cafes that sell single-origin beans for $7 a cup brew them in a V60. Chemex. The Chemex was patented in 1941 by Peter Schlumbohm, a German chemist who fled Nazi Germany and arrived in New York with 2 doctorates and a habit of redesigning household objects. The brewer is one piece of borosilicate glass shaped like an hourglass, fitted with a wooden collar held in place by a leather tie. The filter is bonded paper, 20 to 30% thicker than standard filters, thick enough to remove not just grounds but most oils and fines. The resulting coffee is exceptionally clean, almost tea-like. Some critics call it thin, others call it pure. The Chemex is in the permanent collection of the Museum of Modern Art in New York. It hasn't changed shape in over 80 years. The original wooden collar is still tied with a strip of leather. The patent expired decades ago, but no one has replicated it well enough to compete. Kalita Wave. The Kalita Wave is a Japanese flat-bottom dripper with 3 small holes at the base and a ridged paper filter that holds the grounds away from the dripper walls. The flat bottom is the entire engineering point. Cone drippers like the V60 concentrate the grounds at the center, creating uneven extraction. The flat bottom of the Kalita spreads the coffee bed evenly, and the 3 small holes regulate flow more predictably than a single large one. The result is a cup that's more forgiving than V60, cleaner than French press, slightly less articulate than the best V60, but consistently easier to brew well. Many specialty cafes use it specifically because barista variability matters less. It is the boring sibling of the pour-over family, which is also why most home brewers who actually drink their coffee daily settle on a Kalita instead of a V60. AeroPress. The AeroPress was invented in 2005 by Alan Adler, the same engineer who invented the AeroBuy flying disc, the long-distance frisbee that once held the Guinness World Record for the farthest thrown object. Adler was teaching engineering at Stanford and was frustrated with how long French press took for a single cup. The AeroPress is a plastic cylinder with a plunger that pushes hot water through ground coffee and a small paper filter in under 30 seconds. It is the most flexible brewer ever invented. Immersion or pressure? Fine grind or coarse? Hot water or cold? Inverted or standard? The World AeroPress Championship has been held annually since 2008, and almost every year the winning recipe is completely different from the last. The device costs around $40, has no moving parts to break, and is unbreakable enough that it is the brewer of choice for backpackers, soldiers, and astronauts. Versions have been carried aboard the International Space Station. Cold brew. Cold brew is the same beans, the same grind, the same water, at a different temperature for a different amount of time. Coarse coffee grounds steep in cold water for 12 to 24 hours. The heat that drives extraction in every other method is replaced by time. The compounds that produce bitterness, chlorogenic acids, do not extract well in cold water. Neither do most of the acids that produce brightness in hot coffee. The result is naturally sweet, low acid, smooth, even with no added sugar. Stored cold, it stays fresh for up to 2 weeks. Dutch traders developed slow cold extraction in the 17th century to brew coffee aboard ships without an open flame. The modern bottled version is a 21st century American product. Starbucks launched its cold brew line in 2015. The global ready-to-drink cold coffee segment has since grown into the tens of billions of dollars annually. Cold drip. Cold drip is not cold brew. They are routinely confused. They are not the same drink. Cold brew is immersion. Grounds soak in water. Cold drip is percolation. Ice-cold water drips through grounds 1 drop at a time for 6 to 8 hours. The apparatus is a vertical glass tower, sometimes a meter tall with a chamber of ice water at the top, a bed of coffee in the middle, and a collection vessel at the bottom. A small valve controls the drip rate. The technique traces back to Dutch coffee trading in the 17th century. It was later popularized in Japan, particularly in Kyoto, where it became known as Kyoto style, or Dutch coffee depending on the region. The flavor is unlike any other cold preparation. Concentrated, slightly fermented, almost wine-like. The long exposure to oxygen during the drip cycle is partly responsible. The drink can be aged in the bottle for weeks. The flavor continues to develop. Most cafes never bother with it. The equipment is expensive, the process is slow, and the yield is small. Turkish coffee. Turkish coffee is the oldest brewing method still in widespread use today. The technique is over 500 years old. The coffee is ground to a powder finer than any other brewing method, finer than espresso, almost the consistency of cocoa. It is simmered, not boiled, in a small, long-handled pot called a chezve, often with sugar added. The mixture is brought just to the foam point, pulled from heat, returned, pulled again. It is never filtered. The grounds settle to the bottom of the cup. You stop drinking before you reach them. The Ottoman Empire spread it from Yemen, through Anatolia, the Balkans, and North Africa. Coffee houses in 16th century Istanbul, Kıraathane, were among the first commercial cafes anywhere in the world. UNESCO added Turkish coffee culture and tradition to its list of intangible cultural heritage in 2013. The patterns left by the grounds in the empty cup are still read for fortune-telling across Turkey, Greece, the Balkans, and the Levant, a practice older than most of the countries that still do it. Siphon. The siphon brewer looks like laboratory glassware. It is. 2 glass chambers stacked vertically. Water in the lower chamber heats over a flame or halogen lamp. Vapor pressure forces it upward into the upper chamber, where it meets ground coffee. The flame is removed. The chamber cools. A vacuum forms. The brewed coffee is pulled back down through a filter into the lower chamber. The mechanism was patented by Loaf of Berlin around 1830 and refined in France in the early 1840s. Japan adopted it intensely in the early 1900s, and modern siphon brewing is now closely associated with high-end Japanese cafes. The flavor is unique to the method. Very clean, very aromatic. The extraction temperature stays remarkably stable throughout the brew. There is almost no sediment. The cup is closer to tea in clarity than to typical coffee. The downside is theater dependency. Every step is visible and dramatic. Every cafe that brews siphon coffee charges accordingly. Phin. The Phin is the Vietnamese single-cup drip filter, a small stainless steel apparatus that sits directly on top of the cup. Coarsely ground Robusta coffee, much coarser than espresso, much higher in caffeine than Arabica, is loaded into the chamber. Hot water is poured in. A perforated metal disc presses down on the grounds. Gravity does the rest. Brewing takes 4 to 5 minutes. Almost all Phin coffee, in Vietnam, is served over a thick layer of sweetened condensed milk. The original reason was practical. Fresh milk was scarce during French colonial rule, so condensed milk became the default. The drink is called café sua da, coffee with milk and ice. It remains the most consumed coffee preparation in Vietnam today. A Phin costs around $5. It uses no electricity, no pressure, no filter paper. It produces a thick, syrupy concentrate that is closer in viscosity to motor oil than to American filter coffee. It is one of the most under-recognized brewing methods in the specialty coffee world. Instant coffee. Instant coffee is brewed coffee that has been brewed again, once for flavor, once for water removal. The process: coffee is brewed at industrial scale, then dehydrated either by spray drying, hot air strips the water out, or freeze drying, where a vacuum sublimates the ice. The result is a soluble powder that dissolves in water without further extraction. An early commercially viable instant coffee was patented in 1881 in France. The version that conquered the world was launched by Nestlé in 1938 under the name Nescafé, developed in Switzerland in partnership with the Brazilian government to absorb the country's surplus coffee production during the Great Depression. Instant coffee accounts for roughly 30% of all coffee consumed globally. In the United Kingdom, the majority of coffee drunk at home is still instant. In Japan, around 50%. In the United States, under 10%. Quality has improved significantly since the 1970s. Most third-wave specialty roasters now offer freeze-dried, single-origin instants. But the perception, instant is industrial, instant is cheap, has not changed in 80 years. Capsule. The capsule machine reduces brewing to a button press. A pre-portioned dose of ground coffee, sealed in a single-use aluminum or plastic pod, pierced under pressure to produce 1 cup. Nespresso launched its first commercial system in 1986, a Nestlé subsidiary built around the patents of Eric Favre, a Swiss engineer who had visited Italian espresso bars and wanted to industrialize the result. The patent on the original system expired in 2012, which is why generic capsules from competing brands appeared in supermarkets within months. A single Nespresso pod produces around 1 gram of waste for every 5 grams of coffee it contains. Roughly 14 billion capsules are sold per year worldwide. Most are never recycled. The aluminum is too small to be sorted by most municipal recycling programs, and the coffee grounds inside must be removed first. The flavor is consistent, predictable, engineered. The yield per dose is highly optimized, but the resulting coffee is bound by the format. A capsule cannot adjust to different beans. The beans must be selected to fit the capsule. 14 methods. 1 plant. First simmered in finely ground form over a flame 500 years ago, then pressed under 9 bars. Steeped slowly, dripped slowly, vacuum pulled, plunged, capsuled, dehydrated, and rehydrated. Every method tastes different. Every method extracts different compounds at different rates. The same Ethiopian bean brewed in a V60 and a Moka Pot is 2 completely different drinks. The coffee in your cup is not just the bean, it is the choice, sometimes a personal one, sometimes a colonial one, sometimes a corporate one, of how to extract it. Foodology has more, every week.